दीपज्योतिः परब्रह्म दीपः सर्वतमोपहः दीपेन साध्यते सर्वं सन्ध्यादीपः नमोऽस्तुते. It is the light of a lamp that pervades all existence. A lamp removes all darkness. It is by a lamp that one can achieve everything. O lamp that denotes transition, I bow down to you.
Thank you. Yes, RP sir, take over, please. Good evening to all the PSPA. As mentioned by Ashok sir just before, the PSPA is born because of the like-minded people and the like-minded thoughts during the Corona time. It is a registered body with a motto of better leaders for better schools. Because of the lockdown and Corona, we have not taken the membership at all for the last 2 years. Now, as the schools are reopening physically and very active work is going on, we have decided in consultation with Ashok sir and also the core body members that membership drive will be starting in the next few weeks. Before entering into the inviting the keynote speaker and the resource person of the day, let me put on record just a few lines. That is, Ashok sir has been the pillar behind the PSPA, just not thought leader, and he is a very strong supporting leader for all of us, not only in Alon School for the principals and the teachers and the students there. I have seen in the last 18 months of time in discussions, in consultations, in physical meetings also. So I welcome Ashok sir for this webinar as a keynote speaker. Before giving and asking for the keynote address, let me introduce Ashok sir. Of course, Ashok sir is well known across the country and outside the country also. Right now, he is the director of Alan Group of Schools at Delhi, and he is chairperson of GCED. He was selected in the top 100 great people managers by Forbes India in 2020. An author and also prestigious national awardee from CBSE and from the Government of India. Sustainable Development Goals evangelist, very interesting area for Ashok sir. And he has been the light and limelight of honorary president of PSP also. I welcome you, sir, and I request you to give a brief address on this occasion of the pedagogical leadership webinar.
Yeah, thank you, RP sir, and thank you, Professor Mathili, my colleagues at PSPA, and all those who have been very kind to join us today for a very interesting conversation with one of the top minds in pedagogical leadership, and that is Professor N. Maithili. I just want to give a little bit of a background to the whole thing. All of us are engaged with K-12, and traditionally K-12, the only pressure on the teachers and the principals and the parents in K-12 traditionally has been on improving the academic performance for whatever reasons it may be. And the movement of improving the academic performance of the students led to what we understand as instructional leadership. And instructional leadership was again attributed to one who headed the school, let us say the principal or headmaster or head of school or whatever name we may give it. But if you really look at this a narrow meaning of a child's development, particularly at the young age, when the child interacts with the environment, with the society. They have to shape up for the new world. They have to learn the lifelong skills. The parental involvement is to be brought in. The quality of education has to improve. The learning has to improve. The parental engagement has to be fostered. Organizational philosophy is to be built. We have to meet standards. We have to meet national and international benchmarks. We have to use data to take our own decisions and a whole lot of things. And therefore, the instructional leadership does not adequately define or reflect that broad and deeper role of a school principal. And hence, I believe the nomenclature of pedagogical leadership encompassing the whole thing came into being. For us in India, it is a relatively a recent nomenclature. But as far as research goes, and my understanding is there, the term was first used almost 25 years ago by a group of researchers when they started reflecting on these things. In India, with our progress of education, and when we found that the education is becoming unidirectional, and we are more obsessed with the summative examination and more obsessed with getting more marks, the high percentile, and then and very high and sometimes ridiculous cutoffs for college admissions. And then we found that somehow the entire education process is getting severed from the actual meaning of education that we have imbibed from our own past, our own knowledge system. And that is the development of character, flourishing of the human being, preparing the children for life, and also to make them be the critical thinkers, problem solvers, work in a group, team workers, great communicators, and also someone who can creatively find solutions to the whole problems. And that is how this pedagogical leadership came into being. And I'm so happy that we are sitting here in the company of that person and that educationist and thought leader who gave this pedagogical leadership a form, a shape, and understanding, and also in the form of a toolkit. I would not call that as a book, but I would call it a toolkit. And Professor Mathili in her book, or that toolkit, Pedagogical Leadership, has gone into, deciphering the entire thing. And I'll request everybody to go through that book again and again and again. And you will find that there are 3-4 areas in which the whole compilation of that thought process has taken place. What is that book is all about? What is the leadership? How the leadership in general is different from the pedagogical leadership? What are the different layers? What are the different aspects of learning? And also at the end, how we can all engage collectively into planning our annual pedagogical plan, APP, as we call it. So that is how the entire thing flows. Today, we are already here to discuss with she herself, and we will engage her in the conversation. I'll be assisted myself by my colleague, Mr. RP, and we will also try and bring in the audience as much as possible, and we'll try and present before you the entire menu of pedagogical leadership. So that is what our plan is today. Thank you very much, Mr. RP and your colleagues at PSPA for organizing this and inviting Professor Mathili here and giving me also an opportunity to interact with her on this platform on that particular important topic of pedagogical leadership. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashok sir, for the very sparkling initiative on the pedagogical leadership that will be definitely guided by Maithili Madam spectacularly, undoubtedly, because all of us are waiting for. Let me introduce Dr. Maithili. All those who have seen the leadership book on pedagogical areas, they have seen the name Dr. N. Maithili. And I have read a couple of times the acknowledgement given by Maithili Madam. A very, very insightful message, how she has gone through and how the NIPA chairman has given the duty to her, though there are so many other people in the panel, and how she has taken the guidance and how she has completely given the structure for this. Right now, Maithili Madam is the associate professor at Indira Mahindra School of Education in Mahindra University at Hyderabad. Deeply involved in policy research, teaching, and taking large edu projects in SLDP, NCSL, NIEPA. I think these names are very well known to all the senior principals who have been checking the CBSE, NCRT, NIEPA, all these names are very familiar. And she is also the panel member of NISTA, NISHTHA. And she also served earlier in Tata Institute of Sciences, Ajit Premji Foundation also. And all of us very lovely, very happily knowing Maithili Madam name as the author and creator of pedagogical leadership, something like a Bible and Quran and Gita for every school principal who has to go through it. You may like or dislike, but you have to follow the pedagogical leadership inside the schools.
Yes.
It is not only for CBSE, it is across the country and in all the schools, government schools, KVs, every school. It has been known to all. And I request Maithili Madam to take over the session. And I request all the participants to be patient, clear, and also allow the smooth functioning of the webinar. We have posted the instructions in the chat box also. Padlet, kindly download it if it is already there, well and good. And Madam has already given some easy tips how we can go about. As rightly mentioned by Ashok sir, few questions will be addressed and then Madam will be leading the discussion. And Padlet page will be displayed here and you can post your doubts, your questions accordingly. Madam will be answering them so that everyone will be addressed with their doubts and clarifications in a very smooth and comfortable way. I sincerely request once again all the participants to be silent and listen carefully. This is a learning webinar, just not joyful webinar. Please listen carefully, understand, and put your questions for the benefit of all the participants here. Once again, I thank Ashok sir and also Professor Maithili Madam for giving a chance to this kind of webinar where all the principals are ready to listen to you, madam. And I thank all the PSPA members, core committee members for joining and supporting in this webinar. Over to you, madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your kind words. And thank you, PSPA, for inviting me and also getting to know that this organization is focusing on principals development. And that's something that I really liked it because principal is a forgotten entity in the system when it comes to professional development. So
yes.
Yeah,
So,
it's all about teachers. But
yeah.
what has happened to principals?
Yes.
Principal was forgotten in the whole process. So the purpose of PSPA is, and the mission of PSPA is really good. So now we will begin.
Yes. So
sir,
thank you.
how do we go about?
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, ma'am. And thank you. You are such a pleasing, unassuming personality that most of the principals will now think that we should also become like Professor Maithili, so that nobody is scared of us. Generally principals are treated as somebody to be afraid of. Okay, I think that is also one of the problems that principals have to grapple with. And the second thing, your comment that principals are forgotten, without offending anyone, I can tell now that I'm the honorary president. I'm sure people will tolerate this comment that, we have ourselves, given away some of our responsibilities of pedagogy. And we have drifted towards so much of administration and mundane work that there is a gap created between our actual role and the role that we perform. And that is why anything to do with pedagogy has shifted to the teachers and not to the principal. This is just one explanation of the exclamation that you made right in the beginning. So with these little bit of chit chat and ice breaking, ma'am, I will jump straight to some of the questions. Let me to your book, the pedagogical leadership. It
Sir,
has got.
I'm interrupting you. Can we just ask the participants how many of them have laid their hands on the handbook?
Okay. So Professor Mathili wants in the chat box, please just write yes or no. If you have laid your hand at it, write yes. Even if you have not flipped through the pages, write yes, so that the yes goes more.
No. I want an honest answer. I want an honest answer. If it is a no, it is a no.
No.
I'm ready to take it.
So that she has a fair idea. Yeah, please go ahead, quick. And we don't waste a lot of time in this. I hope, Shilpa, the chat box is enabled for all the guys.
I'm seeing.
Oh, you're seeing? Okay. Oh, yes. I think there is an overwhelming yes, Professor Mathili. You should be very happy. Somebody has written sorry also. So.
Yeah. Honest yes also is there.
Yes. We have submitted our APP, somebody is trying to say.
Oh, that's good.
We have already gone one step ahead, it appears.
Yes.
Yay, somebody has written
partially. Yeah. Great.
Anyone else, please speak. I mean, there are 140 people here and we have got only 30-40 answers.
There are some hands raised also.
Okay. So I think you can.
By and large, there is a familiarity.
By and large, they are familiar with it. They have laid their hands. They have opened it. They have read it. And some schools, it appears from here, is that they have gone up to the level of APP. Also.
Developing APP.
So, Professor Mathili, let us start from the beginning. I have made one acronym out of this handbook, and that acronym is PCAP. PCAP.
Okay.
Yeah. So P is perspective, K is knowledge, A is application, and last P is practice. So these are the four, components of your entire discussion. So very briefly, I'm requesting you to just, connect it with the pedagogical leadership. So how perspective, knowledge, application, and practice fits into the pedagogical leadership.
Okay. I want to now show the slide and then talk.
Okay.
So I'm going to be uploading the slide. I'll be switching between slides and sorry.
No problem. Shilpa, you have made her host and given her sharing?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, she has made, but I'm not able to see my slide, the particular slide that I need to use. So
yeah. So
oh God, how come it did not? Okay, anyway, no problem. I'm not going to waste time. Now, see, PCAP, that's P is perspectives, K is knowledge, A is application, and P is practice.
Yeah.
How did we arrive at? See, this is the basic, one of the basic type with which, people try to associate theory, then knowledge, theory, and then practice through application. Okay. 1 second, please give me. I need the slide. So why is it not coming is something that I'm not able to understand.
So you are sharing.
I got it.
Okay.
Have I shared?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. We can see it now. Yeah.
Okay. Now you see, I want to use this. We have adopted something like this. That perspective building is something very, very important for a principal. Otherwise, as you said, Ashok sir, that we are going to be engaged or drowned into our mundane activities in the school.
Yeah.
If there is no perspective building that happens for the principal, because principal for a very long time is a teacher, was a teacher, right? A sudden shift in the placeholder, or to get into the entire school requires that preparation and a molding of the mindset towards that direction where I have to take on with a big picture. Where am I? Who am I? And what should I do?
Yeah.
So when that has to happen, it is so important to have this perspective, and that doesn't come easily because it is a mix of the existing knowledge base, my own experiential learning, and the practice that happens around me and which I'm observing, and I myself also practice. But then there's a whole host of knowledge that lies there out and which I don't know. So if I am a professional and involve also myself into the professional development as a leader, then I must engage in building my perspective. And that's what I try to look at, when the whole CBSE's one of the official orders said, from now on, I remember those words so clearly. From now on, the principals are going to transform into pedagogical leaders.
Yeah.
The order was so strong, actually. And what does that mean? That means that I have to really shift my role base to a learner base. While leading the school, I also have to be learning and leading the school. So that is where I say that perspective building comes with this combination, and that is where we have positioned part 1 of the handbook, and that is understanding school leadership.
Yeah.
So therefore, it is all about read and learn what I'm writing here, and it is about what. The perspective building is about what. And then what am I to do? There comes the perspective is slightly different from the knowledge that I need to know how to do.
Yeah.
How to engage myself as a leader. Okay, though this is practice, but practice has to be embedded in the basics of the knowledge that I need to know how to practice.
Yeah.
That once again, is the funneling of the perspective into looking at how do I articulate, how do I decipher the meaning of leadership for myself. So therefore comes that step back and reflect, and here is what one has to derive the meaning, scope, and significance of pedagogical leadership as a principle. Now, when you are developing an overarching perspective, that is P cap, as you have rightly said, that P in our Indian context, was not attempted at all.
Yeah.
Till now. What is it? What is school leadership? What does school leadership mean in Indian context? Who are these school leaders? What are those core functions for the school leader? And this was not, deciphered till now. School leader means it's about infrastructure, it's about rules, regulations, it's about administration, it's about whole host of things. And if it is a government school, then build toilets, then clean the premises, and so on and so forth. So from there, we came to therefore explaining and defining what is school leadership in Indian context. And this is the first attempt made in Indian context to define what is school leadership mean. Yeah. What does school leadership mean for Indian context? With your permission, I'm going to slightly touch upon this. And I know I'm taking a bit of a time, because I cannot but do
Professor
this.
Mathili, I think you have just moved to my second question already. So you just carry on with your flow, because my next question was that you have first defined understanding school leadership before coming to pedagogical leadership.
Yeah.
So there must be a rationale to that also. So probably you are doing that only. So please carry on. No problem.
Okay. So this defining it, a pedagogical leadership handbook project also facilitated a defining moment on school leadership in Indian context. So I did not want to lose that opportunity to position what is school leadership in Indian context at the global level for all the principals in the country as well. And also, when it comes through the, authorized bodies such as the CBSE, the Government of India, then it makes much more stronger impact, and I didn't want to lose the chance there. Now look at this. What is school leadership in Indian context? This has been derived out of a lot of research globally that has happened, as well as Indian research that I have undertaken, and not just mine, that I am emphasizing, but till now no research has happened in leadership context, school leadership context. Research is different from developing training modules, and it is different from giving resources for training modules. But research is something that informs the new knowledge, and so therefore I had no choice but to rely on my own research studies. That's also a limitation on one hand, and also an advantage for me on the other hand, to put that perspective. So here, what are those core functions? So therefore, we came up with one strong idea. There are core functions, and there are core processes, styles. I will be using this interchangeably. So processes and styles. Okay, those core functions will actually enable us to understand, and these core functions are, in understanding the school leadership, one is the core functions, and another is the core processes, then school leadership as a movement, and then pedagogical leadership. So that's how it goes as understanding the school leadership. I will go one by one as the core function of the school leadership. Which are those four core functions? One is to influence others. We all know what is leadership? To influence others. It naturally flows from anybody who talks about leadership. It is to influence others. It is to change. It is for changing, right? But what does that influence mean? We need to really unpack this and ask ourselves that this is the ability to change the behavior of behavior of others. How? That by achieving goals without authority. Rewards or punishments. This is very, very critical. What does that influence mean? Change the behavior of others without exercising authority, rewards or punishment. But then can it happen just like that? No. Therefore, there is an intentional control over the stakeholders to achieve those goals. But these intentional controls do come with non-authority, my English may be wrong, non-authority, no reward, no punishment. That is what is meant by influencing others. Then, is that enough? Then direct others. This direct others implies guide and support leadership teams to set the goals, to solve the problems on their own, and connect with leadership teams in the school. Okay, so directing others, on one hand, when you talk administratively, it is to pass orders, give circulars, appoint somebody to do certain jobs in the school, nominate rather, not appoint, nominate someone to do certain jobs in the school. But then, do we also engage in directing others? That is, these are the redefining moments for us on school leadership in Indian context. That is to set the goals, to solve the problems on their own, guide and support, then connect with other leadership teams within the school. Now, when we are talking about this, therefore, this talks, the underlying leadership style in directing others is distributed leadership. In distributed leadership, it is leadership plus. That is principal, and there are many other leaders in the school. So the eulogizing only one leader, that one leader is like a Superman who is going to change everything in the school, is really questioned. Positively, to emphasize that it is the leadership role of the principal is not to create eternal followers, but also to create leaders and develop leadership teams in the school so that the ownership is developed and not just accountability to what the others do. But the ownership to engage with the schooling processes is something very important. Here in this context, I want to quote one of the conversations that I was having with one of the principals day before yesterday. That if I leave the school, if I'm transferred from this school to another school, then I don't think the school is going to be working in the same way as it is happening, because that school has been recognized and has got excellent awards now successively over 3 to 4 years now, and he has worked very hard and he is so satisfied with his work, but he sees this lacuna, he sees this shortcoming. What's happening? If I leave, if I'm transferred from this school, then the school will not be the same. There is no one to take care. That is when I said, come and join for us for this talk, and you take the cue. And what is it? To develop leadership teams within the school, and therefore ensure that the leadership, you create other leaders in the school, but not the eternal followers. That is when the work is carried on, the baton is passed on. Irrespective of I am there or not, the work, the leadership continues. And that's real leadership. And therefore, I emphasize on this. If you have to do this, I'll come back to this again, saying if it is influencing others, it can't come with authority, rewards, and punishment. It has to come through with, an absence of authority, exercising that authority from the position of power. You can't do that. And therefore, that absence of that power relations will decide how do we direct others.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Okay. I think you have beautifully set the context, the perspective, the functions of school leadership. And what I understand from this book is that the pedagogical leadership is nested in the school leadership. It is a subset of that. And you have given in your book many layers to that.
Yes.
So the vision development, the professional development of teachers, distinguishing between school climate and school culture, also distinguishing between innovation and good practices. So now I will request you to reflect on those a bit. for a better understanding of the audience as to how the school leadership in general and the pedagogical leadership, they are placed with each other, against each other, within each other. How does it pan out?
Okay. 1 second, it went off. Where is it? I'm searching.
Pedagogical leadership framework, we can see the slide.
Are you? Okay.
Yes, yes. Basic
Okay,
structure. Okay. Yeah. So it is there.
Then why am I not seeing?
Okay. You're not able to see that. Have you shifted your screen, put something else on the screen? Just
your screen sharing is paused.
Yeah, so it is paused. Shilpa, can you see something? Because the slide is available. Your slide number 8 is pedagogical leadership framework.
But I'm not able to see.
You're not able to change it?
No.
Okay.
So, okay. What I do is I'll unshare.
Yeah, you can share it again.
Who can share? Only host. Am I made the co-host?
Yeah, you are. You are sharing it already, so you can reshare it. You can stop sharing and share again, ma'am. Yeah.
No, there's something wrong that has happened. Sorry. I'm so sorry for. Got it. Okay, got it. Yes. Am I there?
Yeah, you are there, ma'am, but the screen we are not seeing.
See, all logistics software, something and all is coming here. I'm going to.
RP sir, can you find out Shilpa has these slides? RP sir?
Sir, RP sir has written a message. It is raining there. So there is a poor connectivity.
Okay. Shilpa, can you hear me?
Yes.
Do you have these slides with you? What ma'am
No,
is sharing?
I got it. Have I shared?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Please. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Carry on.
Okay. Sorry for this interruption. Now, see, what is this pedagogical leadership? I'm going to go one by one about the pedagogical leadership framework. That, as you rightly said, it has the layer, these 3 layers, and then the descriptors within that, and then the actionables that define what the descriptors are. So layer define the overarching concept. Descriptors, lay down the functions within these layers, essential and minimum functions that ought to be there. And actionables, what we have written, are to decipher what processes have, defined these descriptors. That means what processes we have to undertake when we are engaging with pedagogical leadership, right? So now this takes back to, I'm going to come to this. See, from perspective where read and learn, understand how to practice pedagogical leadership for assuring student learning. That's that whole framework. Step back and reflect. Read, learn, step back and reflect. And when you're doing that, actually now we are engaging with our actual task of becoming pedagogical leaders, for which knowledge base is necessary. This is where I'm coming from. Having built the perspective in that way, just a few minutes before which I try to explain. Now, what is this layers? There are 3 layers to the pedagogical leadership framework, and that is setting the direction for school improvement and student learning. And layer 2 is about practicing pedagogical leadership, and layer 3 is about assuring student learning. While the layer 1, setting the direction for school improvement and student learning, we are talking about, this is about the whole school. Unless I consider the whole school improvement, I can't become a pedagogical leader. Right? So while the individual, the principal is important here, along with his leadership team, I can't let go the importance of the school as an institution in which I'm positioned. Therefore, setting the direction for school improvement, which is my place of work, is so essential. And what are those minimum things that are there and we are doing already is something that I have tried to give in terms of the descriptors. That is creating the vision for the school, building a shared vision, developing SMART goals, developing a personal vision as a school leader, and aligning personal values to the education system's values. I'm emphasizing aligning personal values to the education system's values. This is what sets the direction for improving the school as well as student learning. Okay, so the next layer is our business, actual business. What is it? Practicing pedagogical leadership, in which there are a lot of things that we can think of and putting it in the school, and we are already doing, be it ICT, or be it social and emotional learning, or be it about the well-being in the school, or be it about the today's assessments and global citizenship and so many other things. But then behind all this, there are some which are very critical and essential for this practicing the pedagogical leadership, without which all other things can't be practiced. This is where I have positioned identifying these 6 descriptors, and that is engaging in teachers' professional development, that is in school, within school, not outside, on a day-to-day basis, on a semester basis. How do we really engage with the teachers for their professional development, initiating innovations, leading teaching learning process, developing a learning culture, building an inclusive culture, becoming and being a self-aware leader. And then the layer 3 is assuring student learning, drawn from our NCERT has defined learning competencies grade-wise and stage-wise, subject-wise. We ought to use that. And it has been given to all the schools in the country, across all the boards. Okay. Second, the 21st century learning skills that the CBSE has given and drawn from the OECD frameworks. Third, the NEP, National Education Policy 2020, also has expectations in an entirely different way. And that is to, sorry, what happened? That is to develop moral and ethical competencies in the children and ethical sensitivity in the children. So with this, the what is student learning for us has been defined. Yes, sir.
Ma'am. So, and then you go from the professional development of teachers within this layering. How do you distinguish between creating a good school climate or a good school culture? So okay. Which one is the overwhelming?
Okay, there are 2 things which I want to say. One is, see, learning culture is something which I always say, it's like an iceberg. Tip of the iceberg is something that we see on a culture iceberg. That is about policies, systems, structures, and visible things that are there in place. Mm-hmm. How to go in a systematic manner. There is no confusion. Everything is in order. Everything is in, everybody knows everything, how to go about, what to do, where to do, when to do. These are all policies. and what to do, with whom to do, everything is there. And people go on doing it. But is that all? We as individuals coming from the larger society also come with our beliefs, set of belief systems, set of notions and assumptions, and our own cultural moorings that we bring into the school, as much as children's background who also come with their, passed on beliefs, notions. And besides that, there is a larger system that also has within it some kind of its own systemic culture that has got created. It is not easy to tackle this, isn't it, sir?
Yes, absolutely. I fully agree with you. RP,
Yes.
sir, are you back with your connection? You are there? RP, you are there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, so you come in, please. You have a question? Yeah, please come in.
Maithili madam.
Yes, sir.
I have a few points to connect and proceed further for your discussion.
Yeah.
One is the student learning area. There are so many aspects to address inside the school. How the pedagogical leadership or leader should encourage to address these aspects of students' learning in a very convenient, reasonable, and comfortable way in the school.
Okay. So this is where we have tried how should this student learning be? Come again, sir. I forgot. I mean, I missed out on that word. That how should pedagogical leadership?
Yeah, student learning is having so many aspects inside the school to address.
Correct.
Different aspects. Maybe student learning or participating in different areas, skill set, and so on. How the pedagogical leadership or leader.
Yeah. Inclusiveness, and
how
then
can we address them?
Yeah. Okay. That we are addressing through layer 2, where those minimum essentials have to be there. That's what I was touching upon. That is, in order to address the student learning. See, we know that the king and the queen of the classroom is the teacher. Principal can't enter there.
Absolutely.
Right? Principal's duty stops at the doorstep of the classroom. If we are taking the physical building as a notional space, then it stops there. Then who is there, who is influencing the student learning is the teacher. Right? In this teacher's professional development, therefore, we have tried to address these nuances of what it takes to really engage teachers in a meaningful teacher professional development. That TPD is that ascertain the needs of professional development of the teachers through a collaborative process and a practice on teacher basis, one-on-one teacher basis by the principal. Okay, so here what happens is that by tapping on the individual needs of the teachers is one way to go about, and another way to go about is creating opportunities for continuous and comprehensive professional learning. Are you engaging the teachers in continuous learning? That's something that we need to really look at. And how do we go about this whole process? And that is where our actionables come into place, which we have deciphered, which are most essential to be followed and are non-negotiable in any school. This is how we have tried to address the process. And I request all the principals to go through these actionables along with the sub-actionables that have been given in the framework. Right? Then promote reflective and cognitive thinking practices and empower teachers to become agents of change. This is so important for us that we look at teachers as the agent of change. This is one important thing that I would like to emphasize on. How do we ensure student learning? In addition, what I request you to look at is how do we really put in place encouraging and initiating innovations?
Yeah.
And that is about, you know why? When we have to ensure student learning, we also have to look at and make checks on what is learning and what is working and what is not working. And when something is not working, how do you make that process work? And that is where the traditional approaches really fail to address what is not working to be making it working, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So thank you, ma'am. Let me permit me to make two announcements, and one query is coming constantly in the chat box. That can we have access to the PPT? So my answer to that is that this program is streamed live on YouTube. So the YouTube link will be available to everybody. You only have to go to the PSPA's channel and everything is available. So there is no need to share the PPT separately. So that is one thing. Second, I have just put a note, please put your questions for the audience round so that we can pick those questions and request Professor Mathili to address it. In the meantime, Professor Mathili, could you please throw a bit of a light on, many schools, they say we are very innovative, and many schools, we have got these best practices, right? So how to reconcile it, and what is the best way to go forward?
Okay, so in the meantime, when the Padlet opens up, I keep giving this a clarification on the innovation and the best practices that you have raised, how to reconcile. Yeah. Will that be okay with the audience?
Yeah, that would be fine. So
okay, yeah. Now we think that whatever we are doing, something that is working, something that is new for me is innovation. So my question to those who say that what is new for me is innovation, my question to them is whether my ignorance constitutes the basis to call, if I'm learning something new, that is to be called an innovation. Till now I am ignorant, I was ignorant, and now I became aware of something new to do, and therefore can I call it as an innovation? One, what is the purpose of innovation vis-a-vis the best practices or the good practices? Tell me, therefore, I raise this question, whether the best practices or the good practices aimed at solving the problems or aimed at improving what is already doing better, good to better or best.
Okay.
So what is the purpose of innovation? Is it about good, better, best? And hence, we need to understand and unpack this innovation. And innovation is something to solve the problems. The purpose of innovations, especially social innovations and educational innovations, is to solve the problems of educational problems within the school or within the education system, where traditional solutions have stopped yielding results.
Yes, absolutely.
And hence, the essential criteria is that they have to be new, not only to me, but also to the processes, but also to the system, but also to the institution.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Now, one question has come from a teacher. How pedagogical leaders can foster reflective thinking and metacognitive thinking and skills among the teachers? So this is one question. If you can briefly answer it, I will take the next one.
Okay. So how to foster reflective thinking and metacognitive thinking. Okay. See, what is reflective thinking? We think, I mean, here is something, once again, I question like that of innovations. What is reflective thinking? The normal notion is that give feedback, receive feedback. Giving and receiving feedback. is reflection, right?
Yeah.
Then, then I question this: is giving feedback reflection? Alone is reflection. Looking at positives and negatives, making a SWOT analysis is reflection. I think that reflection is in a very deeper sense of the term. And here, one has to look at critically about one's own practices.
Yeah.
Second, one has to deep dive into my own assumptions and notions. I come back to this again and again. When I'm looking at my practices, I have to step back once to look at my own assumptions and notions which are driving these practices for me in the school. Okay, then alone I'm able to see what I do not know till now, and I came to know that I do not know, and therefore that is metacognition, isn't it? And hence reflective practices are closely linked to the next higher level of engaging ourselves in that thinking and looking at ourselves at a metacognitive plane, on a metacognitive plane. So therefore it has to causally lead, and only then you can call it as a reflective practice. Now, how do we engage? How do we engage the teachers here? It is not about talking to teachers on who they are by giving feedback, but on the processes. In fact, if you remember Pandey sir, one of the audience in Hyderabad's
conference, brain feed conference.
Yeah, brain feed conference asked, how do we really motivate teachers?
Yeah.
Teachers are motivated. Already teachers are motivated. I am supposed to be engaging with them on the process basis, not on the person basis. Okay, then reflection happens. And therefore, my premises for reflection, which I read in Speaking Tree, which I really made me really think what is reflection, it was that a reflection means it is not about why things are happening in a certain way. It is not about how things are happening in a certain way. It is not about where things are happening in a certain way. It is not about when certain things are happening in a certain way at certain point of time, but it is about the what of the why. It is about that what question. The fundamental, that is where you have to come down, to deep dive into what, decipher that meaning. So how do we engage the teachers in a reflective practice? What is teacher professional development for you? Can you help me understand how do you propose to go about? If I engage with a teacher like this, the teacher is made to think. Then the teacher is also made to know, when I'm asking this question, oh, what I know or what I do not know. She or he becomes aware of that plane of, what I do not know till now, or what I know. I became aware of what I know. And that's metacognition.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what you have essentially said, ma'am, is that reflection is basically awakening our consciousness.
Yes.
You see? So that is very, very important. Now, there are two very important questions which are coming here. One principal has asked that how to foster or build effective relationship without compromising organizational values. So
to foster
effective relationship among the colleagues and teachers and other stakeholders without compromising the organizational values. So this is one question. How does it fit into pedagogical leadership? Perhaps that is the question. And then
So,
I'll read another question by another
later.
teacher.
Yeah, can I answer this question?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to position this question of how to foster.
Effective relationship.
Yeah, effective relationship.
Yeah.
Without compromising on the organizational values.
Values. That's right. Yeah.
Right. And here I'll position this question in the larger context of the school leadership meaning, and it goes beyond pedagogical leadership, because pedagogical leadership is one of the specialized role of the school leader, right? A specialized role. Now, therefore, one has to really see and build that synchronization between, while being a pedagogical leader, I am also a school leader, and therefore your question on not compromising on the organizational values and ethos comes under the larger realm of the school leadership. I hope this PPT is visible to you, and I am on core processes and styles of school leadership. Right? Yeah. Okay. Now here, how do you really look at that? Effective relationships. Be a responsive leader. What does that responsive leader mean? You are not compromising on the organizational values. That is to provide opportunities for collaboration, optimally utilize available resources, provide service to stakeholders, use non-discriminatory approach, facilitate people development, like the teacher professional development, or bring about, the talents to the surface, or identify the talent. This is about responsive leadership. Then become a responsible leadership. What does that mean? Take responsibility for actions and decisions made. Do not put it, you must have, all of you must have seen this popular, cartoons, a difference between a boss and a leader. A boss blames the followers, blames the subordinates, whereas leader takes responsibility for the failures.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? That responsibility is that taking responsibility for actions and decisions made, whereas that boss takes all the success for himself or herself, whereas a leader gives it to the team, gives it to his followers, that they have made it and therefore it is a success. And when it comes to the failures, the leader accepts the failures. That is taking responsibility. Now, have you compromised with the organizational values in that case? No. Have you been effectively building relationships with your team, with your teachers? Yes. So therefore, now when that you can ensure. Now, how can you do that? When you are engaging continuously on a routine basis, or on critical situations with them, on critical reflection of self, especially for professional orientation. This ought to be there as a process in the school. Then develop one's own perspective on school leadership for leading learning. See, now leadership definition is given to you in the book. There is a host of definitions and meanings that are there. But what does that mean to you? Where does it come from to you? Unless I define my leadership, who am I as a leader, and what is this school leadership mean? What does this pedagogical leadership mean for me? I won't be able to connect with people. And therefore, when you are doing that, you're responsible for yourself, and also you're responsible for others, because you are able to connect with others. And therefore, this entire discourse of school leadership, pedagogical leadership, has been positioned in a much more broader umbrella called leadership for learning. And in which, when we are saying that, then it is about, without compromising on the learning of the students, I will also be engaged continuously in learning. And unless everybody begins to learn and engages continuously in learning, I cannot ensure student learning. And now tell me, haven't you effectively built or ensured relationships with your colleagues
Yes.
without compromising
Absolutely.
on the values. And
Absolutely.
therefore, leadership for learning is the larger discourse currently which is there across the globe, moving beyond instructional leadership to pedagogical leadership to school leadership to positioning on the platform of leadership for learning, where everyone continuously engages. Tell me where the relationships can be hampered. I am also learning, you are also learning. The cross learning happens. That's where we come from. And
yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for your this very beautiful insight on this. Now we have entered into the last 10 minutes.
Okay.
We would like to close it. Mr. RP has a question. I will invite him. But before that, just briefly, can you say something about preparing the annual pedagogical plan and how that journey goes, why it is important, and the challenges one might face? Just a few minutes.
See, can I ask some of these people to pose the questions now?
Yeah,
because I want to answer the APP questions for the audience, because that is something that they have to do and submit.
Yes, and they have to ask their doubts, what problems they face. So please post this question, and I will pick that up. In the meantime, RP sir, you had a question. You said you can ask.
No, before that, I request the annual pedagogical plan for Padlet to display so that they can post the questions on the Padlet. Nitya madam, kindly post the annual pedagogical plan, annual part 3.
Okay.
It is posted. So I request the participants. Now the link is posted there for the Padlet, part 3, annual pedagogical plan. Kindly open it, post your questions, madam will answer that. Before going to that,
RP, you can ask
one question, madam.
Yeah.
In the
See the Padlet will come on the screen.
No, they will just click it and it will open on their screens.
Yeah. But how do I see that?
That's you will also come here, sir.
They will see it and then they will ask questions. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I won't be able to see the Padlet screen.
Yeah, you will not be able to see it, but you can also. That would be a problem.
Okay, so in the meantime, I will. How can APP be integrated into school curriculum?
Yeah.
APP is all about school curriculum. Across all the 5 descriptors, that is teacher professional development, then initiating innovations, then leading teaching learning process, then developing a school culture, then building an inclusive culture, becoming and being a self-aware leader.
Yeah.
Now that last descriptor, becoming and being a self-aware leader, will not come into your APP. Be very clear, that is your personal development. You don't want to make it public, isn't it? So it doesn't. You don't want to submit your personal, journey inside within to assessment, isn't it? It can't be assessed. That is for you. In the entire discourse on the pedagogical leadership here, individual principle is not forgotten. Therefore, right from that reflective practitioner school leadership as a movement to becoming and being a self-aware leader. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, RP sir, you had a question. Briefly, you can ask.
So now I will take over and tell some of the critical observations that I have made. If I'm not able to see the questions on the screen. Unless otherwise somebody reads for me, I can't make out.
All right.
So see the step
please
one
go
is
ahead, madam.
The step one is, where are we now? Right? The step one in the annual pedagogical plan is, where are we now? And that where are we now has to be done using the rating scale that is provided for you in the appendix. Where did the rating scale come from? Rating scale came from the actionables that is given in the pedagogical leadership framework across the 5 descriptors in layer 2. On the teacher professional development, initiating innovations, etc. Okay, the same actionables and sub-actionables that are there are imported as it is to the rating scale, and we have developed the 4-point rating scale. Please go through in the handbook, what does practice mean before you rate your school on that particular actionable statement across the descriptors. And engage everyone in that process, and it is not a principal who is sitting and doing in his or her chamber all by himself or herself. It is led by the principal for the entire school, for all the teachers and all the stakeholders. So it is a process, can't be done within a day. It is not just to tick, it is to step back, reflect, visualize, plan, think, look for the areas of improvement, and a deliberation, a discussion happens within the teams at various levels. For primary level, let all the teachers come and sit together to discuss and then rate. For the elementary level, upper primary, teachers come and discuss. For the secondary, teachers sit down and discuss. And with all these teams, principal has to be there in and through. That is the first step. The second step, what do we want to do? When you are doing this, actually, it comes from your identification of areas of strength and areas of improvement that you need to identify for every descriptor that you have assessed. And when you are saying that areas of strengths you already have, then you are not going to touch on that to improve. As much as you want to improve on the area of the deficit that you have taken, you have considered, isn't it? So your area of improvement, whatever is there, vis-a-vis the area of strength, you are going to be considering the area of improvement. Now, so in that, I think, let me share this screen. See, in that, what do we want to do? Your area of improvement identified in step 1, you have to convert this deficit identified into an opportunity. For example, this is the most difficult step that I have come across all participants in all the workshops in this entire year. Therefore, I am emphasizing on this. Now, for example, the deficit identified in step 1, culture of trust among colleagues is lesser than required. That is from the descriptor developing a learning culture. Okay. Now, how do you convert this step into this deficit into an opportunity? In step 2 of the annual pedagogical plan. Now think of various ways in which you can convert this into an opportunity. Opportunity 1, enhance trust among colleagues. Straight, but this is very abstract. Now, so you cannot put it as a point of, how to translate it into your step 3, isn't it? So the second one, encourage believing in others among colleagues despite the fact that they may be wrong. As a principal, can you do that? Yes, that is about giving opportunity. That is about moving from a deficit approach to a positive approach of, encouraging trust to be built, or know each other better than what you know about them currently. Because I have been working for 10 years in this school along with those ABCDE teachers, I know them better. Is that true? Question your assumption. Because I see them every day, because I talk to them every day, do I know them better? I may not know. So where do you want to pin down? You choose from these 3 types of opportunities that you want to create for area of improvement. Which one you want to choose? Or you want to choose all? Do it. Then what Then you need to immediately go to the step 5. There, what does the impact look like? It is about giving a big picture of the impact to this opportunity that you want to create. And that is about, what is that big picture look like? At the end of, say, 6 months, all colleagues, 90% of teachers begin to work in teams more frequently than before. Can you expect this to happen? Which means that is the translation of the trust built among colleagues into an action. That's the big picture that you want to see. Then some of the intermediary picture, outcomes that you want to see happening is about, as the day progresses, as the months progress, colleagues do not doubt each other as much as they were doing earlier. One of the process outcomes that you can write in this column, process-based outcomes. Then you might have observed, and therefore you have to write, or your expectation of that, that it should happen like this. Second, as a principal, drastic reduction in bringing complaints to the principal's chamber. About 90% of the teachers don't come to you complaining on others. Isn't it an indication of developing trust? See, then in fights reduce significantly to 80%, up to about 80%. Therefore, your outcomes have to be measurable or quantitative, observable and qualitative, intended or intentional, vicarious or incidental or unintended. Some you may not foresee, but it happens. You should have that eye to see and make a record of it. So your outcomes have to be on the big picture as well as on intermediary, which is quarterly based timelines that you have put, this process based outcome, that quarterly based outcomes you need to write. And you know very well, better than anybody, how to plan step 3 and who is responsible. Since you have engaged all of them in this act of, assessing self-diagnostics, engaging the school in school self-evaluation through that rating scale in step 1 that is given in the appendix of APP, you would be able to identify who is responsible for doing what, for undertaking this step 2. Okay, that's the way to go about. Now, how many we have to take in each descriptor? This is something that I would like to say that in one descriptor, take any one actionable. In one actionable, take any 1 or 2 sub-actionables, and that's all. That's enough. Because you have 5 descriptors, and in every descriptor, if you take one actionable with 1 or 2 sub-actionables, that really covers for the entire year. And it is an annual plan. Please note, you have to show the outcomes, and so therefore be realistic to take one at a time. Yeah. And cover all the descriptors. And if you touch upon it, something, I'm going to end this with one note. Okay, so I know I have exceeded the time. Sorry for that. Now with this actionable, that is, if you touch one button, say one actionable in teacher professional development, do you think that it is going to affect, don't you think that it is going to affect the learning culture in the school? Don't you think that it is going to affect the leading teaching learning process for the entire school? So touch that button, which has a ripple effect, which has an effect on various other descriptors. That's the way to plan, which is therefore an annual pedagogical plan is a process-based plan and not a budget-based plan or only the student learning outcome. This leads to student learning outcome, which is based on school leadership has an indirect effect on student learning. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. I salute your passion, your insight and ownership. And I think we will have to request and bring you in maybe periodically, again and again, so that you become the conscience keeper for all of us. I really enjoyed the conversations. I will request RP sir to sacrifice his question and rather close the proceedings for today, so that everybody goes home happily with a lot of takeaways and such a beautiful narrative or pedagogical leadership presented by Professor Mathili. Over to you, RP sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Maithili madam, and also the discussion to move on, the talk go on, webinar go on, with all the help given by Ashok sir. And it is a very comprehensive session. I think I am receiving some messages already. Sir, one more session we want, one more session we want.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think they want it again. So they are sending the messages to me. It is a very, very meaningful, and also you have touched upon all the areas like the concept of school leadership, the pedagogical leadership framework, the layer 1, 2, 3, and some parts of the critical areas where you have come across with so many sessions where they are finding difficulty in the preparation of the APP. So you have touched upon all these areas. Thank you so much, madam, for your valuable time. And as Ashok sir has mentioned, you are completely walking embodiment of the pedagogical leadership. If you are standing, you will get definitely a number of questions across wherever you stand. And you have that kind of patience, and also on the spot, on point, you are exactly giving the answer also where, what, how, everything. It is something very impeccable record of information that you are carrying upon. Thank you so much for all the support given by all PSPA members and all the participants also. They are there up to, and now also 144 plus are there. Still they are waiting.
Oof.
And we have given the feedback form also, they are filling it now. Once again, we will come across with this kind of process, madam. We may request you, as already Ashok sir mentioned about it, in future also, maybe in the month of June or July, we may have another session with, so that they will have the clarity to prepare the APP also, and to go down deep diving and having the intricacies where they are finding difficult. Because the young principal, those who have joined recently into many of the schools across the country, they are finding it difficult because they don't know much about the pedagogical leadership. They are new about it. That is why in the chat box also, they have given very honest answer. No, I don't know about it.
Yes.
Some of them were unable to get through it. So we may need another session, madam, as already pointed out by Ashok sir. We may be requesting you in future. Once again, I am very grateful to Ashok sir and also Maithili madam. Thank you so much. Thank you, Shilpa madam, and all the participants across the country. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll meet again.
I thank the organizers.
Yeah.
Thank the organizers. I thank Rajendra sir and Pandey sir. And I request the participants to now read, and within yourselves, in your sahodayas, you please engage in discussing and let it be there on your table. And by the end of the year, the pages should come out, individual pages, soiled, that way you engage, and that becomes your pedagogical leadership. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shilpa madam, you can close it.
Good night.
Good night.
Yes, sir.
Good night, sir. Good night.